I'm a former visa officer, and how should you go into that visa interview? Should you just go in and cross your fingers and hope that everything goes well? Should you go in and try to answer every question as simply as possible without saying anything more than necessary? Or should you go in and be prepared to give a lot of information, to share a whole lot about your story, about your plans, about your program with that visa officer? Well, what you need to do is have a strategy. You don't need to go in there just hoping it goes well, thinking, oh, well, I hope that they like everything that I'm bringing in. No, it's an interview. It's not called the visa presentation of documents. It's called the visa interview. And what is an interview? An interview is a conversation. It's a back and forth between the interviewer and the interviewee. The interviewer is going to ask you questions, and then you're going to respond. Now, if you've spoken to anyone who's ever attended a visa interview, or if you've attended a visa interview yourself, you know that the visa officers do not look at documents very much. And if they do look at documents, they've asked you questions about those documents before they ask to look at those documents. They're not just going to take, oh, well, yes, sir, please hand me everything that you've brought here. Let me just sit here quietly for 15 minutes and skim through all these records you've shown me today. No, what they're going to do is they're going to ask you questions. And depending on your answers, they're either going to feel confident that you are a good visa applicant that they should issue a visa to, or they are going to feel the opposite of that. They're going to doubt your intentions going to the US. If they doubt your intentions, they're not going to give you a visa. But if they trust you, if they feel that you've given them the confidence they need to believe that you are not going to misuse your visa, then they're going to issue you your visa. The documents are a secondary part. The primary part is your strategy for how you're going to answer those questions. You need those documents to back up what you say, but primarily you need to have a strategy for how you are going to, one, speak to the visa officer. What's the tone you're going to have, right? How are you going to approach it? Are you going to be very meek and subservient, like you're speaking to a judge or police officer? Or are you going to approach the situation like you're speaking to a peer, like an equal, like someone who you might meet at a professional event who you're trying to impress, but you also want them to like you? Well, I can tell you the answer is the second of those. You want to approach them like a peer, all right? That's the tone you want to take. That's the first part of the strategy. The second part of the strategy is what are you going to say to introduce yourself? Right? In a conversation, if you meet a new person, you could just say, hello, my name is Ben. Okay, you haven't left much of an impression. Maybe you've left a bad impression by being so quiet, but you definitely haven't given the person you're speaking to any information that's going to stick with them, that makes them think anything about who you are, other than reticent to speak. What should you do instead? You should be prepared to introduce yourself, but not just introduce yourself. Hi, my name's Ben. I like chocolate ice cream. No, you need to introduce yourself with a purpose. You're introducing who you are as a visa applicant. What are the credentials that you have that make you a good visa applicant? Make that job easy for the visa officer. Make it so easy for them that after your first response, they think, oh yeah, definitely, I'm giving this person a visa. Let me ask a few more questions just to fill out my notes, but I'm giving this person a visa. That's how you want to introduce yourself. It's a sales exercise, actually. What are you selling? Not a product. You're selling yourself. You're selling yourself, and you're selling the idea of yourself as someone who will use your visa well. If you've ever interacted with a salesperson and you've bought something because they were a good salesperson, well, they weren't quiet. They didn't just sit there and wait for you to ask questions and then answer your questions with factual data. No, they had a plan. They had a plan for how they were going to convince you to buy that thing that you bought. They were going to figure out what's important to you. Well, we know what's important to a visa officer, knowing that you are going to use your visa well, okay? And then they're going to address that. They're going to tell you exactly what you need to know in order to satisfy that concern that you have. That's what's important to you, okay? So you have to have your strategy of how you're going to go in, answer that first question to let them know who you are and why they should give you a visa. The third part, you need to be ready to defend against your red flags, which you might have. Not every applicant has them. Many applicants do have them. the visa officers are looking for red flags, right? They're not combing through your application primarily looking, okay, now where's this good information that's going to let me issue the visa? No. I think that most visa officers' mindset is actually the opposite, where when they're looking through your DS-160 and when they're asking you questions, they're looking for these red flags. And if any of these red flags come up, it makes it very easy for them to justify refusing you your visa. So what do you want to do? You want to first know what these red flags are. We can help you with that. You want to know what your red flags are, and then you want to know how to defend against them, how to refute them, how to turn them into positives when originally they were negatives when you're asked about them by the visa officer, because you're going to have to do that quickly, right? They see this, they've got this red flag, it's a negative in their mind. You need to turn that around and get that negative thought out of their mind so that they're focusing on the positives as quickly as you can. Strategy, having a plan. Strategy, it just means having a plan. Have a plan. Know what you're going to do. Know what's important. Don't memorize. That's not a plan. That's a script. And think about what a script is going to do for you. It's going to make you sound like a robot. If you're one of the very few people that might be watching this who is a trained actor and can memorize that script and really deliver it in a convincing, natural way, okay. But this is for the 99.9% of you that are not actors. If you memorize a script, it's going to be obvious that you're reciting something that you've memorized. When you recite something that you've memorized, you lose the rapport that you're establishing with someone. If you were meeting a new person and you felt like they were giving you answers that they responded about their life, about their hobbies, about their plans, about what they do, you wouldn't feel like you're actually connecting with that person. You'd be getting factual information, yes, but you wouldn't feel like you made a connection with them. Making that connection, and I know that sounds radical, but in that short visa interview, you need to make some type of connection, establish some type of rapport with the visa officer so that they feel confident issuing you your visa. You're not going to do that without preparation. You're going to do that by having a strategy, having a plan, knowing exactly how you are going to address their concerns, how you're going to present yourself. Okay? Come to us. We will be able to identify what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, and what is that strategy that you need to employ to get your visa issued. ArgoVisa.com. We're waiting for you.